Hello everyone, and get some booms in the chat, and welcome to this walkthrough with me and Mr. RJ TV. Welcome, RJ.
I need more letters. Hey guys, how you doing? Great to be here with you, Tommy, as always.
Yeah, glad to have you here. So it's summer major time, the second ever major that we have been having in the game of Golf Clash. I will have to say, like, I'm very excited. How are your feelings about the major?
My feelings are a little bit mixed. I've definitely been grinding this course. I love the fact that Playdemic made at least 2 or 5 100% the tournament courses. So we all got the practice in, but different wind affects things differently. And we're here to let you know the way to go. You know, before we know what the wind is. So it won't change much, but certain things might change. So, yeah,
It's going to be very very interesting. It's like the elevation adjustments are the key in this tournament, and of course I'm going to try to be as detailed as possible with that for the various divisions. And just a slight note of knowing that that this particular shot is going to be played 50% extra than a normal shot is going to be crucial when you go into that hole in the tournament, from maybe getting a par instead of a birdie, or like an hole in one instead of a birdie or eagle or whatever. But I think we're just going to get started. As you can see already, we do have the text guides on the right side. You can find the text guides for the summer major in the video description down below. There you can find the link to Imgur, and Imgur is a place where you can sample like different type of pictures and stuff like that. So download it and check them out, and also do not forget to subscribe to the channel here and also to RJ's channel over at his place as well. So let's go. Hole number 1, par 4, and this one I do believe is one of the few opportunities we do have for something extra. Do you agree?
I do. For this particular hole, I like to go with the extra mile, and I believe I'm using full top spin, and I take the left route, the black line that would be. And once you get your drive up there, so far, depending on how far your drive goes, no need to overpower. I would bring my sniper if I have it, but I am teaching rookie, so if you have a Viper, that'll work too. But I'd also throw the backbone in just in case your ball does go, again, if we have a tailwind, your ball might roll a little further. No need for any extra power balls, in my opinion, for rookie. If as long as you don't end up in the rough, then you will have an excellent opportunity for the rough bump. And the rough bump will get you very close to that hole. And that's why I like having the backbone in there, because once you get it upgraded a couple times, your accuracy is around 90, 80. Even if the accuracy is around 50, it's a great club. So that's what I would recommend.
Yeah, you can see two lines here on the screen. You do have a white line, you do have a black line, and I know it's going to be a difference between amongst you players that are watching here. Like, oh, I've been playing it the according to the white line every single time. And sure, that is going to be work if you're going to be able to hit it far enough. That is the only problem I do have with the white line there, as many of the times you're going to go too short, and then you're not going to have the angle to go towards the green, or going towards the pin for a good opportunity. And that is why I also play the left side. And as you can see in the videos that I do have here on the channel, I do play rough bump left side every single time. And that is because I do believe it's going to be good. The thing to have in mind here for every division is that the drive is going to be played slightly downhill. So you're going to add 10% with your adjustment. The second shot, if you're playing from the left side, then you're going to basically be playing this one over a hill, even though technically it's played downhill, but you're going to adjust this shot for 20% uphill, which means that you're going to take away 20% in your adjustment for the rough bump. Sounds maybe really weird, but the whole is like the shot is going to kind of travel very close to the rough and to the fairway that you have in front of you, and therefore you're not going to travel that high as you would be on the right side. So a very strange shot, but that is very important when you do adjust, especially if you're playing from second or from third tee and going to have like wind up to 7, 8, 9, up to 15 miles per hour depending on the ball that you're going to have. But for sure, one of the easiest holes in the tournament, if not the easiest one, and definitely a good chance for you to make that eagle that you kind of desperately need in this tournament, because you're going to find yourself, as you're going to see further ahead, we're going to have some very, very difficult holes to play. So, hole number 2, we go over to the par 3. We just start. How do we play this one?
Yeah, I mean, you were going over bodies of water, there's elevation differences, and I got to let you guys know, Tommy is much more of an expert than I am, hence why I'm teaching you guys rookie. So when it comes to elevation and, percentages, I rely on him and his videos myself when I'm playing the game. So if I ever say something and he says, oh, make sure you, adjust 20%, I would definitely do what he does, what he says. On this particular hole, I like the Guardian the most. I like having a lot of backspin. You may not need to use all of it, but you probably will use more than what the Viper gives you. However, if you don't have the Guardian, because once again, we're rookies, the Viper is a nice choice. I would probably go with more of a side spin ball here. Again, depending on certain winds. I like right where that black box is. You don't really need to mess with that little hill on the fairway. If anything, you want to avoid it. And I would go full backspin with the Viper, and probably a couple bars more than whatever your Viper would have if I had the Guardian on this particular hole.
Yeah, it's all the par 3s. Those are the holes that is going to mess with you big time. We are going to see a lot of pars instead of birdies, and we are definitely not going to see that many hole-in-ones. That is not because I don't trust you with your shots, but we're going to have it very bumpy. It's going to be greens that it's going to be very hard to get that firm bounce that we're looking for. So the thing that I have here for hole number 2 is that first and foremost we're going to adjust this shot 30% extra than normal. So we are playing it downhill and also over water, and then we're going to add 30% extra. So for an example, if you're going to play the sniper, you do have the sniper as 1 mile per hour per ring, then you played 1.3 instead. So, and the thing that I do is the same as RJ do. Like if we talk second or third tee, we play it like that as well. I do suggest you use a club with a lot of backspin. We on second tee most likely going to be able to play with the Rocket if you do have it maxed out with a maxed out backspin, or with a Thor's Hammer. From the third tee, I think the Thor's Hammer is going to be a crucial club for you to play on every par 3 in this tournament, to be honest. But otherwise, play with the one that do have the most backspin there. Sure, you can bounce it over on either of the 3 fairway spots that you do have before the green starts. Like they're in between that big bunker you have. But in the end, this is a par 3. As for the other par 3s, to get it to green, take that safe birdie and go and focus on the next hole instead. So we're going to go over to hole number 3, and just as a last part, use a wind 5 ball if you have one, so you make sure you stay there, especially for Masters Tee. This is going to be a killer. So hole number 3, par 5, we're going to have 2 lines here, and I'm very, very interested what you recommend here, RJ.
I recommend the black line. Surprise, surprise. On this particular hole, you're going from a low elevation to a high elevation, so it almost looks like your drive's going to crash into the rocks, but you just clear right over it. I personally like to go full top spin with my extra mile, and full right spin and full right curl. Now in rookie, I think that if you're in rookie and you even have an extra mile 6, you should probably be in at least pro. So if you have like an extra mile 7 or something, full curl might be a little too much. Do not overpower this shot. I've tried overpowering this shot, and I've ended up in the rough over there by those 2 rocks that you see above the black box. You want to land somewhere over there, maybe a little closer to the right rough area, but definitely want to stay away from the rough. Now, with this particular shot, because we don't know what hole we're going to get in practice, with just a marlin and a slight wind at my back, I was able to get right before the green on my second shot with a slight overpower with the Viper. Now, we can't count on that until we see what winds are coming. So I'm still going to recommend that you bring the big dog just to be safe. But if we do find that we have a favorable wind in rookie, you can definitely, bring a little bit more accurate club, a club that has a little bit more of a ball guide. However, if we have any type of side wind or any wind that is blowing in our face for the second shot, I would definitely go big dog, and I'd also bring a power ball. Now, when adjusting for my drive, I'm not going to use any extra power. So over in the corner it'll show actually above the ball. You're going an extra 2 yards, an extra 7 yards, whatever. That's not why I would bring the power ball. I would use it like a basic ball when it comes to the first drive, just so we don't hit the rough. But for the second shot, especially if we have a headwind, you're going to want that power ball to get you onto the green. Sorry, that one was a bit long-winded.
No, very, very nice explanation in my opinion, and I think you covered it really well. And we're going to play it the same way from second and third tee. The only way we're going to change is that if we do get from the second tee, if we do get a very, very favorable wind, like for an example, you do get like 10, 12, 13 miles per hour with a berserker, and like basically straight shady wind, then we are able to actually go, as you can see there, even though it's a bit tiny. But if you check out the text guide itself, the second white box, then we can reach over to that fairway spot by going max overpower, and that could potentially give us a way to bounce on that fairway spot, fairway spot, and bounce ourselves close to the green. That is the only way I would go according to the white line. Otherwise, I would play from second and third tee. I would play left side. We're playing uphill, and that is then the ball is not going to be affected by the wind much at all. But for the second shot, the ball is going to be affected a lot by the wind. I add 40% extra with my adjustment, so it's going to be a very, very tricky shot, especially if we do have a headwind. So for an example, a wind with like 7-8 miles per hour in headwind, that is going to be around 10 miles per hour in headwind as we are adjusting for. So really pay attention to that you are adjusting properly. Otherwise, you're going to put yourself in the rough or in the bunker. You're most likely not going to figure out what really happened. So I like to go second tee, third tee. Then we need to use a wood club with a lot of power, a big dog, cataclysm, whatever you have. Sure, if we do have a very good wind, sure, the sniper, but I do like to put myself up short before the rock and the rough on the left side, because the fairway do slope down to the right, which means that if we come in with too much speed and too much to the left, then we're going to get stuck by the rocks in the rough there, and then we have no chance whatsoever to reach for the green in two. So there is a lot to talk about on hole number 3, but if we go, but it is also very important, and that is going to be the same for the other holes that is coming as well. So we're going to go here, and for hole number 4, we do get a par 4, which is going to be both like an easy one, but also a bit tricky. But what's your opinion about hole number 4?
Personally, the experience I've had with this one is one of a very easy one and a very conservative one. I take my extra mile and I put full top spin on it. Now, make sure with your ball guide that you don't have to go all the way to the tippy top here. You could set yourself to be safe. So make sure you don't land in the water or on the rough with your bounce. Give yourself a couple extra rings. The one thing that would be tricky is if you wanted to do a rough bump. It's a very steep, it's a very steep rough, basically. So I've attempted it, and the ball looks like it's going to go up with the ball guide, but then it does a U-turn, and you got yourself kind of a difficult shot there. So I definitely recommend bringing a Saturn or something that has a lot of backspin on it for your second shot. Um, Beyond that, just remember that you are going over water, so there is an adjustment, I believe, for each shot. But that is definitely the way I play this one. If I were to bring a special ball, I'd probably want to knock the wind down a little bit on this one.
Yeah, it's backspin here. Second, third tee, first tee, doesn't really matter. It's backspin that we're looking for here. And again, the wind do decide where we're going to put our drive. If we're going to have a favorable wind like tailwind, then we're going to try to reach for that tiny bit of fairway that we do have just before the water, and then we do have the green afterwards, as you can see. And then we're going to have a nice adjustment with our thorn, or with with our thorn, because we do need backspin. So I'm just not going to say hornet. So we're going to play with a thorn. The thing to have in mind here is, even if we put ourselves on that fairway that is a little bit bigger, like if we say the second piece of fairway, then even with the Saturn or the Tsunami, the Tsunami do have a good amount of backspin as well, then we are most likely not going to be able to go for the pin. And that is the boring part with it, because we are still not going to be having enough backspin. So then we do have to decide: are we going to try to rough bump? Are we going to try to use the fairway just before the green that slopes massively downhill, and risk going back towards into the rough or into the bunker to get that eagle on the par 4? We can also use the rocks after the pin. We can actually shoot amongst the rocks with 2 bars of topspin and still land ourselves to the green. But in the end, we come in a situation where we do need to decide and bring in all the different situations in, like, what should we do? So the thing that we want to do in the best case scenario, put ourselves up on that tiny bit of fairway, play with the short iron. Otherwise, it's a birdie hole in my opinion. 10% adding when it comes to drive as we're slightly downhill. 10% we take away, so we subtract 10% when we go towards the green, as the green is going to stand on a higher point than when we are taking the shot. So yeah, hole number 4, it's going to be, that is why I kind of like, it's going to be an easy one to get it there, but it's not going to be an easy one to get that eagle if we're not getting a favorable wind. So, hole number 5, a par 5, the second par 5 with a bunch of fairway on all the directions. So, where to start?
You know, this one isn't quite as bad as it looks. When I first saw this, I was like, oh my goodness, where do I take the ball? But as I play more and more, I like to take the black line. And with that black line, you're gonna bounce on the first block, roll yourself up as close as you can to the second black box, setting you up for so basically extra mile with full top spin, setting you up for a shot that's pretty straightforward when it comes to having a view of the green. And then with your second shot, you could bring yourself. I'm sorry, lost my screen here for a second. You could set yourself up with a, wow, did I mess up my notes, or big dog? Is this a big dog hole?
Yeah, definitely. So you're spot on with that.
My apologies. I gotta be confusing this with another hole. And because they're all new, I'm not surprised, because we know this brain buffers quite a bit. But yeah, well, even so, with the big dog, and having that much fairway in front of the green, the lack of ball guide and the lack of accuracy should still be able to help you out to get a possibility of an eagle. And I would probably go with a power ball here as well.
Yeah, and this is another hole. The wind is going to decide how we're going to play. If we do get some slight tailwind, then we're going to play according to the white line, because that is going to put in a, what can I say? It's going to be a possible situation for us to actually get an easier adjustment towards the green. If we have ever any other type of wind, then we're going to have to play according to the black line. Have in mind that if we are having wind right to left, then we need to have a club with a good amount of curl to get to the right side, because like if we are in the rough, we are not going to reach for the green. Doesn't matter what type of wind we're going to have for the second shot. We're not going to reach. So we need to find a way to put ourselves on the fairway. Stay away from the left side. It's just there to trick you. So don't play that side. Play straight with good wind. Right side otherwise. The right side is favorable in the way that we're going to have an open shot towards the pin. And then you can basically play with whatever wood club. I suggest a good club, a club with power, and that for for if you're playing from the second or from the third tee. Then we're going to play with a power club when it comes to the wood. Sorry, my screen did die. That's why. Oh my god. So like a good ball as well with some power, with a good amount of tailwind. Then we can go full blast down the middle and actually be pretty close to the green. Hole number 6. Oh my god, it's almost that we need to zoom in to be able to see that tiny bit of green. And this is going to be, in my opinion, if you haven't been watching any of the guides from any content creators out there, then I would say you have a 50-50 chance to just screw this one up big time. What do you say about hole number 6?
I would like to say that you have a 99% chance to screw it up if you go with that little patch of fairway all the way to the left on top of that little mountain. Our friend Jesse likes to call this, I believe, Billy Goat's Bluff, because it looks like there should be some goats up here. Either way, it's just a decoration, guys. As you can see, Tommy drew one black line, and that's the way I took. I do not use that. I use the Viper with full backspin, full left curl, and full side spin on the ball. And depending on the wind, you got to tweak things here and there. But basically, yes, either way you go, as you can see, not only does the black box show you where to land, and then you see you're also going to jet off to the left. So that obviously shows that there's side spin to the left, and also that there's curl, because you can see the bend in his black line. The Guardian would also work, but I'm not so sure I would use full backspin. One thing, though, is you might want to use a little bit of a power ball, because the little red line in between clubs is very low. And if we have a wind in our face, you might have to use a rocket or something, I'm assuming. What do you think, Tommy?
Yeah, that is something that we're going to have to do. Like from front tee, you are most likely going to have to stay with a wood club no matter what. But from second and third tee, but if we take the second tee first, you're going to, with tailwind, you're going to be in between clubs. Like then you will have to decide, either use a club with a good amount of backspin, like the Thor's hammer, like a maxed out rocket, and then you go with a wind 5 ball, so you do have enough space to adjust and play it according to the black line. Otherwise, you can actually bounce on the right piece of fairway, like amongst the rocks there in the middle. I do not recommend it, but if you go into this hole with the wrong set of clubs and have tailwind, then you need to play that way to be able to get the ball to stop, because the backside of the pin do slope down towards the rough, so you're going to roll down into the rough just if you come in a little bit too hot. From 30, we're going to play with our driver. Then the Thor's hammer is a must, or an upgraded Apocalypse. I hope we are not getting tailwind on this one. I'm talking about master for my own personal sake. There is a possibility to go for the rough bump on this hole if we do have a favorable wind. But again, that is not going to be that consistent, as we are, last but not least, going to have to add 50% extra on this hole. So we're going to have to add a lot. Like if you have 10 in wind, you're going to have to adjust for 15. So this is going to be massively downhill. And then when it comes to the rough bump, if we do have to adjust a lot down into the bunker, then we're going to lose track of the trajectory and going to have a hard time to actually find a spot with that we actually have a consistent length on our shot. So this is a very tough one, and I would say like this is the this is the second hardest par 3 in the tournament. We haven't even got to the hardest one yet. So, but we are soon there. So we're going to leave hole number 6 with those that information, and then we're going to go to hole number 7 and to get a breather a little bit to actually have a chance to fight for the pin. But what's your thought about hole number 7, RJ?
Okay, now with hole number 7, if you're a big fan of the quarterback, I believe you can use it here. I've never used the quarterback because a lot of these are far, but this is one where you're kind of laying up and taking the black line. I use the extra mile. I put full back spin on it, and you know, you don't have to get really close to the top rough there. Sure, it's nice to be closer to the top than it is the middle or the bottom, but don't take any chances because your second shot is going to pretty much be a straight shot on the pin. I've been using a backbone to do so. I've been trying to practice with lower level clubs, you know, so I can understand the rookies. Sure, there might be other options out there that you might like, but the backbone has a nice amount of accuracy. You unlock it in what, 2 or 2? I put about 3 backspin on it, so I have a little bit of control and can trust the ball guide a little bit more. And occasionally, you can go ahead and chip in for the eagle.
Yeah, it's. I would have. I will simplify it in an easy way for us all. It's like a black line, conservative way line, white line, aggressive way to play, an aggressive line. So with a favorable wind, we are actually going to be able to get this 1 to green in 1, and that is because if you're going to be able to master hooks and slice. I'm not saying to master it because we can all learn when it comes for one specific type of shot, because the big and the positive part for a hook and slice is that the wind in a tournament is going to be basically the same. It's going to be slight differences, but from second tee and from third tee, that is going to be a possibility for you, especially from second tee, I would have to say, because that is going to be in a very great distance for your apocalypse or your extra mile or Thor's hammer. If if we're having headwind, for example, then we play right side and play conservative. But sidewind or tailwind, then we can try to go over. With tailwind, and we do have a wind with 10 miles per hour or more, then we can go straight over without having to hook and slice it. Also, like if I equal it to like have to bounce it over, as you can see on the example here on the screen. But then we have to go, then we can go straight over, use a lot of curl and also a lot of backspin if we're going to play it over, because we need to make the ball to stop. Then we're going to have the wedge for the pin. So this is going to be a fun hole, I hope so. Headwind, then it's going to be boring, but with some type of tailwind or sidewind, then we're going to have to get our brains all together and help ourselves out so we can get this ball to green in 1. Hole number 8, the hardest par 3 that we do have. It does not look like that. Now it's hard time to see it, but check it through the text guides and you can zoom it in if you do want to. We are basically going to play up on a turtle shell, I will have to say. It's how do we make this ball to stop on the green?
Actually, can I ask you a quick question about 7 before we get to 8?
Yeah, sure.
Do you think a rookie would be able to follow the white line to get an edge on the competition and get over to the green in 1?
Yes, not to the green in 1. I don't believe in teaching out for players that play in rookie that they should be going for a hook or slice. I'm not saying that because I'm not saying that to say that I don't believe players that play in rookie can't handle it, but as a general rookie, we're still having a problem to hit a perfect shot sometimes, and having a problem to adjust properly for the wind. But yes, we can absolutely do so. Use a 3 to 5 bars of topspin, as much side spin as possible, and max curl. Then we can bounce ourselves over and kind of put ourselves as for the second white box that you do have. And
nice chip in.
yeah, exactly. So we can at least give ourselves a better opportunity if we want to go a little bit more aggressive. But then I do suggest that you go with a driver that do have some distance, or you put a power 3 ball in your bag and play with that together with the quarterback.
Okay, I promise I wanted to know the answer to that question. I was not trying to avoid this awful, awful hole. And when I say awful, I don't mean Playdemic, you did a great job making the hole. Awful in terms of very challenging. And turtle shell is definitely the word I would use. I aim for the black line there. I like using about 3 or 4 bars of backspin because when you use backspin and your ball's going to roll off to the left or roll off to the right, it's going to roll off slightly slower than if you were to use no spin or if you were to try to use top spin and bounce your ball down by those two little rough patches. So I have not had luck. Not one time have I been able to keep my ball up on the putting green, and I've only seen it done against me once. However, with the backspin trick and hitting it perfectly with a very accurate club, I am able to stay on the green and not go on the rough. So
Yeah,
I would also say use a wind resistance ball just to take that out of the equation. Sorry, Tommy, go
no,
ahead.
no worries, and I was about to add that as well. Wind resistance ball is a must here. We do want to reduce the wind as much as possible. And the thing is here, we don't need to focus on getting a hole in one. I understand that we always do want to, and I would be the first to sign up on that play to go for the hole in one. But it is as described. It's like if you're just slightly too much to the right or too much to the left, you're going to fall off the green. And then we need to at least find ourselves a way where we can at least get either stuck on the fringe or on the fairway, and or just short by the green or on the green to be able to ship it in with a wedge if so. So the thing that I do, first and foremost, I will have to say that I've been playing this one with a wood club bouncing up towards the green with a mixed result. So like I would have to say that I've been 50-50, except for those that watched the latest stream, then I was like 1 out of 10. But otherwise I've been kind of 50-50 on that one by adding 20 to 25% on my adjustment, and that due to if we're having tailwind then I'm adding 20%. If I'm having any type of headwind then I'm adding 25% in my adjustment. So but in the end, the play that I'm going to go for in the tournament is that I'm going to play with either a wood club or a driver, depending on how far you're going to reach, just before the green. We do have a little bit more fairway to play with there. Then I'm going to go with a good amount of backspin and going to make the ball stop somewhere on the green or on the fairway just by the green. So might be boring to listening to two players that are kind of giving you no tips on how to make the hole in one. But sure, we're going to see a few hole in ones, but we're also going to see, I would have to say that I would be surprised if we're not seeing a 50-50 type of birdies and par on this hole. So the thing that I suggest in the end for hole 8 is that you take an hour of your day, go down to and play a friendly with a friendly and put yourself in the bunkers and in the rough deliberately and practice your rough iron shots. Because I do believe over first qualifying, then opening, and then hopefully the weekend round, we're going to play this hole 5 times. And I think there will be just a few percentage of players that are going to stay away from the rough and from the bunker every single time. So, and this hole is going to be crucial. This hole is going to either going to make you be the winner, or it's going to put you in a very tough spot for a good position. So I don't know more what to say actually for hole number 8, more than this is most likely it is one of the hardest par 3s that we do have here. Not for making the hole in one maybe, because if we do get it straight we're going to make the hole in one, but as a par 3 to make the birdie, it's definitely going to be the toughest par 3, or at least one of them that we do have in the whole game.
I like
So
what you
yeah.
said. Oh, sorry. I like what you said about the 50-50 with the hole in one. I believe that if you don't nail that hole in one, you're going to end up in the sand right behind the hole. So unless you're like so close and you get like half a yard beyond, I like coming up short. I really do like coming up short because then my ball stops and it loses the momentum and it falls to the side because it lost momentum, which means it's going to roll to the side slower than than any other shot. I'm sorry, I just wanted to throw that in. There's a lot of sand right behind that hole.
Yeah, it is, and there's a lot of needed to say about hole number 8. But the conclusion to make in the end is that it's definitely not an hole-in-one hole. I'm going to go into that hole and fight my. I was about to use a bad word, but fight as much as possible for that birdie. And when I get that birdie, I'm going to be very pleased, and I'm going to so much more focus on hole number 9, which is going to be a hard par 5 to end with, as usual in golf clash tournaments. So let's go over to hole number 9, RJ. Is this a hole where you feel like, oh, let's go and get the albatross, or how do we play hole number 9?
Believe it or not, it is a hole where I feel like let's get the eagle, not necessarily the albatross. I bring my extra mile with the full top spin, full side spin, and full right curl. Again, disclaimer, I have a level 6 extra mile, and I play on the pro tournament, but that's all I have to practice with this. So, if you have a lower level extra mile, you'll be safe with that amount of curl. Anything higher, I can't guarantee it one way or another. So you want to land your first shot right where Tommy has that target there. Big, big surprise, just like the whole video. Not once have I followed the white line, and I'm not going to change that now. With the full top spin and the full right spin, you're going to end up to the right of that sand. That's where you want to end up. Sometimes with a not so great shot, you'll end up at the bottom of the sand, and that just makes your next drive that much longer. Now here we have a bit of an issue. It's definitely big dog distance, but it's not big dog width. You're gonna have to know your wind, and you're gonna have to hit it perfect. And with wind in your face like Tommy had here, as you can see at the top left with the 11.1 miles an hour, you're probably gonna need full top spin as well. So a very wily shot. I used full right spin and full right curl with my big dog shot, and I was able to get the ball onto the green or really close for a chip in. However, another thing I noticed is when I did make a slight mistake, I was close enough on the rough to where if I hit it perfectly, I was able to still chip it in for eagle. So if you are sporting a not so accurate rough club, I would say for this one, go ahead and put in a razor or something with a whole bunch of accuracy, because you might be able to save a shot and just get a save period on this particular one. But a lot of people are going to end up in the rough because you need the power of the big dog, and you definitely don't want the accuracy of the big dog.
Yeah, and to build on that with the rough, like if you put yourself in the rough with your drive, you're not able to reach for the green in 2. So then we
Oh,
can, yeah, that's not going to be possible. Just some quick lines about the white line, and the white line is most likely going to be played in master if we are not going to have like a very strong wind to the left. I think that in master we're going to in master with tailwind and also pro and expert division we're going to play straightforward. I think that is going to be the best play. Sure, we can hook or slice it over on the left side, put ourselves maybe in a bunker in the rough, kind of close to ship it in with the Nirvana, but that is not something I do recommend. We're going to miss more than we're going to hit it there. So I do suggest that the left side is going to be a route that is going to be mostly taken, like with headwind, then we're going to play there straightforward. Otherwise, then we can actually go for the rough bump, or you can use the favorable part of the stats of the Guardian to play with a lot of backspin. And now I'm talking about the second and the third tee, and you go with basically, if so, full overpower, if so, a little bit of overpower, max backspin, just to get yourself on that to green. Because this is not a hole where we're going to fight for an albatross. This is a hole where we're going to fight for the eagle. And to just end up, when it comes to the talk about the tournament in general, this is going to be a tournament that is going to be one of the tougher tournaments we have played. since we started. And in a major, it's going to be like that. I really love that it is like that. So it's big props to Playdemic for designing these courses that we're going to play. We're going to get a couple of, like, I would say 2 or 3 situations, depending on the wind, where we're going to be able to get something extra. But the thing that we need to have in mind here is that there will be thousands and thousands of players that is going to have a very, very tough time, because it doesn't really matter if you are spot on with the wind. These courses also needs you to hit your ball perfect. Like for an example, hole number 6. Like for example, hole number 8, the par 3s, where you do have a big elevation adjustment combined with having a hard green to manage to get the ball to stay, even if you are good adjusting for the wind. So this is going to be tough, but it's going to be a fun challenge as well. And I really hope you are prepared. I'm going to have playthroughs up with the tournament wind as soon as possible to help out in the way that I can to get you to your goal. I do see a score of winning the tournament around minus 24 to minus 27 tops, and that is minus 27. Then I don't see many players hitting that, but with a good and a favorable win, and maybe having a bit higher level clubs for the division you're playing in, then in the division you maybe should be playing in, then you might going to be able to shoot that type of score. Otherwise, if you make a minus 24, I would be okay with that. That is not something I would be sad about, to be honest. Do you have any final thoughts about the tournament, RJ? Do you feel it's going to be like a high scoring tournament as well, or like, what do you think?
Yeah, if you mean by high scoring, like the opposite, because
Yeah.
obviously minus 27 is a much lower score than minus 22. And in rookie, I think we are going to see people squeaking through to the weekend with pretty low scores.
Mm.
Now, I'm curious, on your screen, do you still have, is hole 8 still visible?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so the sand trap over there on the right-hand side where most balls fall,
Yeah.
I'm going to be standing there in this t-shirt like this.
I would
Don't
love.
let it get to you guys. Everyone's falling off this fairway. Everyone's having trouble. You guys are watching this guide. You guys have an advantage because of that. Practice, practice, and do not qualify if you have the bankroll. Do not qualify the first time through. Get used to the winds. Watch this video 2 or 3 times. Take notes. Get yourself a pad and paper. Take notes. Know your wind measurements, and you will do just fine, and you'll have a beautiful little majors banner under your name.
I think we will end the video by that. Actually, that was a good ending. So we are both looking forward to it. I hope you do that as well. Do make whatever comment you want in the comment section down below. If you do have any questions, we will be there to answer. This video is going to be at RJ's channel as well. So no matter where, it doesn't matter where you are, shoot us a message. We will be able to help you out there. So there are going to be streams, and not just for me and RJ through this tournament. We're going to have basically every other content creator that is something to watch from is going to stream. And so check that out as well, and let's have some fun, and let's bring home that banner. So good luck everyone in the summer major, and also don't forget to check out the video description down below to get the text guide for you. So RJ, let's go. How do we end it here?
Happy stroking.
Happy stroking, guys.